Right guys, how you doing? AKSO here, back to you with another video. This time I'll be talking about CDJs. I've owned the CDJ400s for about 2 years now, and over the last year I've experimented with Traktor quite a bit. And if you've been on social media, you probably noticed that Pioneer have announced the release of their new NXS2 series, both CDJs and the DJI mixer. So this inspired me to record this video and share a little bit of knowledge with you and a little bit of mapping trickery in order to get this flagship functionality that the 2000s NXSs offer, and show you how to transfer this onto the old 80-year-old, I believe, CDJ400s. So it could be a comparison, if you will. But I want to stress out that this would be for Traktor use or Serato use. Mainly Traktor because I don't have any experience with Serato, unfortunately. And this would probably be for a more of a home setup, even though I have gigged with these CDJs and they're absolutely outstanding, even though they're very, very old now. So just to break down the video a little bit, I'll be talking about why I personally decided to pick these CDJ400s, what makes them special compared to everything else on the market, and I will be showing you some of the mapping that I've utilized in order to transfer this functionality from the Flagship series onto the CDJ400s themselves. So if you're into that kind of stuff, let's get started. Alrighty guys, let's talk about why I picked the CDJ400s. First of all, when I started out, I had a CDJ produced by a company called Cam, and it was the KCD450, which I really liked because it could read USBs and had this hotkey functionality, and you could learn how to use that. And then once you obviously change your setup, or you go to a gig and there's a better pair of CDJs there, you could actually already start playing around. And it's a little bit like driving an old car and then going onto a new car, and you can see that the new car is much better, but you already know how to drive, you know, in a sense, if you get what I mean. So when I bought these guys, I wanted something very sturdy, and I bought them about 2 years ago. The first two cost me $250 each, because I bought them separately. And compared to the 350s, which are usually about 300 each, 300 pounds each, even now, and the 850s, which are usually about 450, 500 quid, you can see that from a cost perspective, these are much better because they give you the similar functionality. Yes, the other two CDJs are record box enabled, but that really doesn't help because you don't get, because you don't really get the screens, and you don't get the whole record box functionality on them either, even though they're record box enabled. So another reason why I bought this is because I wanted a CDJ which was Midi enabled, and these ones can be used as Midi controllers. So as you can see, I plugged them with this USB cable straight onto Traktor. And I wanted hotkeys because I'm a big fan of hotkeys, as I said already. And now you're gonna say, well, you don't really get hotkeys, but on the 400s. But if you use them in MIDI mode, like I do, you do have all these buttons here, which you can, most of them you can program to whatever you want. And some of them have already been programmed to some things, so you might need to change the mapping a little bit. But in general, you can do whatever you want with them. I wanted hotkeys, so let me just quickly show you what I mean. If we quickly go to Traktor, you can see I have a track loaded. So let's say this is the beginning of the track. I wanted to load hotkey 1 straight away, and it gives me that visual representation again with a little bit of mapping, and I know which of these 3 buttons actually has a hotkey. Then I can do the second one, and I can do the third one, let's say. So I can start doing So you can see that they're very, very responsive, and also you can get a functionality which some of the Traktor controllers don't get. For example, everybody says hot cues, but in most cases, hot cues mean you play the track and then you have a hot cue and then you play and it starts, right? You set it and it starts. But I've programmed them in a way that actually, if you have the track stopped and if you press a hot cue, it starts right away, and then all functionality is there again. This, you can do loops. There you go. Now I don't have the bit rate sorted there, so it won't be very, very good. But other things that I've done on here are browse. So I have this. If I wanted to jump to something else, tech house, let's say, this is as easy as it gets. There you go. Everything else works fine. This is the snap feature, so snap to grid, and you can see that I've programmed it again. It lights up when I press it, and then it lights up on there as well because it's a global mapping. But my focus is on these couple of buttons there because they are. I have other things mapped, but I may actually make a separate video on that if you guys are interested. Describing everything that I've done, but I want to focus on these hot cues, right? Because that's what the main topic of this video is. Why are these similar to the flagship models? Because they have this capability, right? You don't get the screens, you don't get all the fancy stuff, but you do get hot cues, right? Hot loops, right? You can delete them without stopping the track or anything like that. You get snap, you get quantize. What else? I think I have flux mode. You can see that on the screen, and I have active. You get active loops as well, and everything from the player. You can browse from the player, so you don't technically need to touch your computer anymore. You just have the waveform reference on there, and that's it. And it's brilliant, and I love them because all that functionality is on there, and I can train my routines or specific mixes that I have, and I can go to the fancy club. They give me CDJ, I don't know, let's say 2000s or 2000 NXSs, or in a couple of months, hopefully 2000 NXSs Mark II, and I'll be able to just export this onto record books. There are tools out there that obviously do that. You can save all your hot cues and stuff, and you just load them on a USB drive, and that's it. You've practiced, you have all this, excuse me, and you know how to use the big players because functionality-wise they're very, very similar. So how to map these hot cues? I've loaded my mapping, my most recent machine mapping for Traktor, which actually doesn't have anything on the pads at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll map to one or two hot cues, and I'll show you how to make them so that when you set them, you actually launch them from a stop position. So if we head back to my laptop screen, the first thing you want to do is obviously go to your controller manager, select your device, which in my particular case would be machine mapping, right? Okay, that took me a while. And then add in a function. So if we go to track deck, cue, select store hot cue, click learn, press this part there, press the bottom left part. Obviously that learns it, and then device, let's just do A, let's just do button, hold, and select hot cue 1. Okay, so far so good. So we have hot cue 1, it sets it as you can see on the screen, and it plays it, alright? So, but you can see if the track is stopped like it is now, it wouldn't really do much. You need to keep your finger on the hot cue and then press play. And that's very good because then you can actually start can jam and do all these kind of things, but what I want it to do is essentially not only work as a hotkey, but also work as a trigger, so like a play button. But you can't really map it to the play button because when you press it the second time, you'll stop the track, right? So what I did is I actually mapped it back to the, let's see if I can find that now. Oh. Great. Ooh, I can't remember where it was now. That common, oh, there you go. That common cup cue play. Right, so learn it again. Right, okay, so now it essentially works as right, okay, so far so good, but there's a tricky part there. So if you go to transport options and see at the bottom there, cue play mode, it usually is on release. So what that will do is, so if you press it, it wouldn't really play it, but you play it only when you release it. And you can see that kind of makes it stutter. So you can see it doesn't really sound as good. So if you actually change that, because it's usually on release, so if you change that on instant, then you see what the difference is. So you can see that it's much more responsive, it's much better, and that way you can actually map all these hot cues to your CDJs. You can map the mute button or the shift button to delete them. You can map the different lights the way I have them on my CDJs, because obviously that way you'll know what button has a hot cue or a hot loop on, and you wouldn't have to worry about looking at the screen, worrying about what hot cue it was, what button was it mapped to, because you have it on there on your CDJ. It works very good because obviously it's on 3 screens, and it's perfect, I think, especially because it gives you again this functionality. So just to conclude this video, because it's quite a long video now, I will do another one based on mapping, and I can even like walk you through the particular functions that are mapped on the CDJs if you guys are interested in such a thing. But just to conclude this video, I want to say, do keep your old CDJ400s if you're a Traktor user and if you don't have the money to spend on a fancy equipment. Like the cheapest CDJ that will give you such functionality beyond the CDJ400s is probably the 850, which obviously has the bigger jog wheels, but it doesn't, other than that, it doesn't really offer you much more, because the screens show similar information to what these guys do, and there's not really much with record box you can do, so yeah, you probably end up using it as a MIDI controller. The new XDJ700s, I'm quite curious about these guys, to be honest, and I might actually get my hands on a pair just to like see what they feel like in a store or anything like that. But my point is that if you want the flagship functionality in your home studio and you don't have the money to spend, definitely consider the good old CDJ400s. Alrighty, this has been a long video, but I hope it's helped someone out there. So if you guys have any questions, do let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, press that like button and consider subscribing to my channel, because there's more content coming out. And I'm signing out. See you guys later. Bye.